Take that last drag, Houston Texans. The post-slump buster refractory period, it's over. It's time to get back to work. I'm going to tell you why it's okay to once again bend the knee to this surprisingly slept-on squad. One of our favorites in sports is clearly going senile. And who's been soft in the world of sports? Soft Bois is back. I'm Paul Gallant, and this is the Gallant Says podcast.
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people are.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to say.
Are you kidding me? Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Hello and welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast. It is Wednesday, October 15th, live on YouTube. Like this video and subscribe if you're a first timer. On Twitch, at Gallant Says. Give me a follow or even give me a sub. Follows are better. X, Twitter, at Gallant Says Pod, on Instagram, at Sports Gallant, Facebook, at Paul Gallant Sports, and on the TikTok, at Gallant Says. You can join this show Monday through Friday around noon Central Time. I'm just going to say around noon Central Time and occasionally after major Houston sporting events. I took a lot of time putting together today's thumbnail. Today's thumbnail looks pretty awesome, doesn't it? It's available after the fact wherever you get your podcasts as well, Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify. So subscribe, rate, and review. Tell a friend. We've got some good news on the horizon for me. In the near future, got to figure out how I'm making that announcement. But if you ever want to cut me off mid-thought in the midst of this show, you can send me a super chat. I will play this button.
Paul, stop talking. Listen.
But I will eventually get to your comments. You can send a Venmo as well if you so choose. You can also leave comments the old-fashioned way, sending me an email, gallantsays@gmail.com, or leaving a voicemail at 281-836-3912. I also think that you can text that number if you're more of a texter. I have a prop with me to open up today's show. It is a fake cigarette. It ain't loaded. There's no wacky tobacco in this. There's no tobacco in it either. But it's symbolic. How many movies have you seen, TV shows have you seen where a couple of people shaboinked and then they start smoking cigs in bed? I guess they're a calm down of sorts. I'll be honest, the only time I've smoked a cigarette is when I've had a few drinks. Generally, I'm more of a cigar guy. I've smoked cigarettes, I think, 3 times in my life. But I hope the Texans enjoyed that cigarette. I hope they enjoyed this past week's refractory period. Look that up if you've never heard that term before. After riding the high of beating up on 2 teams that many consider to be slump busters. The Tennessee Titans just fired their coach. The Baltimore Ravens look hopeless, partly due to injuries and partly due to a defense that sucks. I hope they enjoyed it, because the rest of the way, things are going to be a lot more difficult. The Texans per tankathon have the 4th most difficult schedule left in the league. 4th. Starts Monday night in Seattle against the 4-2 Seahawks, who look like they have a really good defense. We'll see about that offense of theirs. The next week, a home game against a San Francisco 49ers team that is exceptionally injured. Fred Warner, the latest setback for them. No Brock Purdy of late. maybe he'll be back for that game. But they're not a pushover under Kyle Shanahan. November 2nd, home game against the Broncos, who were 4-2. That 49ers game, that Broncos game at NRG Stadium, be honest, it's going to feel like a road environment for the Texans. There's going to be a lot of Niner fans. There's going to be lots of Broncos fans. November 9th, a home game against a frisky Jaguars team. I'm not sure they're as good as 4-2, but they are 4-2, and they beat you. November 16th on the road against the Titans. Okay, well, if you really need to go back to slump busting after a month off of slump busting, I suppose you could. After that, it's the Bills on Thursday Night Football, on the road against the Colts, the Chiefs for Sunday Night Football, the Cardinals, Raiders, they're slump busters, then the Chargers and Colts, 4-2 and 5-1 to wrap up the year. Wake up! The days of slump busting are over. And we're going to learn a lot about this Texans team if they actually have a chance to be as good as many people predicted going into this year. You might be asking yourself, Paul, what is a slump buster? I'm a child. Well, let me tell you, random child, what a slump buster is. A slump buster, for those who don't know, can refer to a fishing fly or a youth baseball tournament that takes place in Omaha, Nebraska. The Omaha Slump Buster. That's what I'm talking about. Now put on the earmuffs. A slump buster means a person used, and this person generally is ugly, to break out of a slump without getting hanky-panky. A slump buster is a person's first sexual partner after a slump, per Wiktionary. This term gained popularity due to a very superstitious ritual by baseball players, specifically Mark Grace of the Chicago Cubs, where Grace said that in order to get himself out of a hitting slump, he would shaboink the ugliest person he can find. I was looking for a video clip of him telling this story on the Jim Rome show. I could not find it anywhere. So we're going to have to settle for this Instagram story telling the tale of Mark Grace telling the tale of slump busting on the Jim Rome show. Here we go, everybody.
Baseball slump buster, the act of sleeping with the biggest, ugliest woman you can find in order to break out of a hitting slump. The practice is widespread across baseball, from JUCO teams to professional organizations. Many swear by it, but who was the first man to figure out this worked? It's the mid-90s, and Mark Grace, an all-star first baseman for the Chicago Cubs, was in a serious hitting slump. Game after game, he couldn't buy a hit. He took extra batting practice and watched game film late at night, but none of his efforts paid off, so he came up with a plan. Grace and some teammates headed out to a bar in Chicago one night after a game to find himself what he called a slump buster. The idea was that he would be taking one for the team, and his selflessness would lead to him being blessed by the baseball gods. Grace picked the least attractive woman in the room, took her home, and boom. The next day, 2 knocks and 3 RBIs. No one really believed it worked until they saw it happen over and over again. One of his teammates once asked him, "Grace, why do you keep doing this?" His answer? Simple. It breaks the curse. The more brutal the slump, the uglier the slump buster needed
Jesus Christ, Mark Grace.
to be. And sure enough, the day after one of these nights, Grace would walk up to the plate and hit like the slump never happened. He was a guy willing to go to extremes on and off the field to win. And while the baseball gods may work in mysterious ways, one thing we can conclude: the uglier the slump buster, the better you're going to hit. Baseball.
Okay, so by that logic, Titans pretty ugly. Ravens pretty ugly. I mean, you've become seemingly addicted to slump busters, which I don't think anyone should do. If we're going to go along with this metaphor for what those two teams are. The Texans opened up a can of whoop ass on. But they've certainly gone up against some ugly ass teams. I think the Titans are the worst team in the league. Some would argue the Jets are the worst team in the league. I think the Titans are actually worse. I think that maybe Aaron Glenn's a really bad coach, which is a bummer because I was a big fan of Aaron Glenn and his coaching prospects. I just don't think anything can really work out for the New York Jets. But the Texans been slump busting, and I'm telling them, it's over. No more slump busting. No more. Never really understood the idea of slump busting by those who haven't gotten any in a while. I feel like you should lower your standards. Kind of mean to lead someone on top of that. That's just me. So it's time to put that in the past. But I do want to talk more about Mark Grace and his definition of slump buster. I wish I could find this quote on the Jim Rome show. Per Dirty Sports History on Reddit, while on the Jim Rome show, Mark Grace explains how to take one for the team. If a team or you personally are in a slump, you got to find the fattest, gnarliest, grossest chick, and you got to lay the wood to her. And when you do that, you're going to have instant success. Definitely a different approach than Jason Giambi wearing a gold thong to do that. Oh. I guess there was an article in the Kansas City Star about slump busting back in 2009. It also quoted Grace as saying, "It's finding the biggest, nastiest, fattest broad." Oh, okay. So he used the B word to talk about her. I do think broad's a funny word. I don't know how the women feel about that. And it's not intended to be demeaning. I just think it sounds funny to call someone a term that I think was mostly used back in the 1930s. Origin of the term broad. The slang term broad for a woman appeared in the early 20th century. Its origin is uncertain, but likely comes from a few different possibilities. Some theory suggests it originated from broad hips, or potentially from the American English term a broad wife, which referred to a woman living without her husband. Another possibility is that it derived from an older slang term for tickets, which often resembled playing cards, and broad became associated with a pimp's meal ticket or prostitute. It also might have been influenced by the German word Braut, which means bride, that was also used to mean girlfriend or young woman. But back to Mark Grace. I found a forum. It's a Cubs forum. I wonder if Joe George frequents this one. Northsidebaseball.com. Mark Grace defines hogging and slump bust. So we've already heard him talk about slump bust. What the hell is hogging? Let's see. Hog. I mean, I can, Some athletic teams regard it to be good luck if a member of the team goes hogging the night before an important game. So hogging is also a term. What does hogging mean? Paul asked Google Artificial Intelligence. dictionary. Come on, this is not it. Hog. Keep or use all of something for oneself in an unfair or selfish way. Well, that, to a degree, I could be that. You're shaboinking someone not for their pleasure. You're doing it so that you can get out of a baseball slump. Also, hogging could refer to a boat. I have no idea what this means. I'm just going to read the definition. Bend or become bent, convex upward along its length as a result of either the hull being supported in the middle and not at the ends, or the vessels being loaded more heavily at the ends. I have no idea what that means. What does hogging mean in slang? In slang, hogging most commonly means to take or use more than your fair share of something in a British way. Hogging in a sexual context, okay. Oh boy. Okay. Well, this sounds pretty awful. Hogging is a specific term referring to a group of men targeting overweight or obese women for sexual encounters, often out of amusement or to take advantage of them. That's kind of fucked up. That's kind of fucked up, Mark Grace. Come on. The cushion needs pushing too, I'm sure someone is going to say out there. I don't know. I don't think it's nice to lead people on. I don't. We all are probably guilty of it at some point in our life, but I'm not a fan of that. Don't do that, kids. Don't do that. So my live has been restricted again. Wow, gosh, the TikTok side of things, they do a lot of censorship. Man. What comments do we have? Some people want me to talk about Amen Thompson almost killing a guy last night. Did that actually happen? I'll be honest, I did not watch the Rockets game last night. The girlfriend was over. We instead watched 30 minutes of the second episode of, like, I had it on the smaller TV, but I paid no attention to it because it's the preseason. But we watched 30 minutes of the second episode of the Ken Burns TV show documentary Jazz. We watched the second episode of High Potential. Gotta say, did not know Sweet D was a strong, powerful, independent woman because they make her look so ugly in the TV show Always Sunny in Philadelphia. But I only have eyes for you, babe. Only have eyes for you. Love you. And then we watched an episode of Scrubs, the first episode, which my girlfriend has never watched, and I'm very excited to rewatch that show. It has been a hot minute. But what happened in last night's Rockets game? I think it's time for some box score hot takes.
They say numbers lie.
Stats are for losers, final scores for winners.
But right now they tell the whole story. Buckle up for box score hot takes.
So I didn't watch the game. I'm going entirely off the box score. Jabari Smith Jr. Is he the key to the Houston Rockets offense? Led them in scoring with 26 points. I am intrigued by how much of a leap he's going to make this season. Played well in the playoffs. Didn't get enough minutes in the playoffs. Dylan Brooks out of the way. He's certainly going to get a lot of minutes now. Amen Thompson, second in points with 21. 9 for 9 from the free throw line, Amen Thompson. 2 for 3 from outside. Whoa. Well, maybe he did improve his shot from outside. Alperen Sengun, just 8 points in 27 minutes. He let the country of Turkey down. Tari Eason, 20 points off the bench. Does he need to start over Alperen Sengun? Those are my bot score hot takes. Let's take a look at what the hell Amen Thompson did in last night's game. Amen Thompson fight. Holy smokes. How did I miss this? Terrible job by me. Absolutely terrible job by me. I will blame it on being unemployed for now. Video. Amen Thompson throwing punches at Jose Alvarado. Wow. Hopefully this doesn't get copyright struck, but there's a very good chance that it does get copyright struck. Amen Thompson and Jose Alvarado right here. I mean, he is holding on to him. What is he doing? All right, I mean, that's about as close to a fight as a preseason game's going to get, but that's nothing. That's nothing. I thought it was going to be a Donnybrook. I mean, I'm watching it again. Thompson is basically being tackled as he tries to go get an offensive rebound. I think very understandably tries to get back after Alvarado, but no, that is, you guys build that as something more than it actually was. This is not Amen Thompson against Tyler Hero. This is not that. I'm looking that fight up. Because that, I mean, he kicked Hero ass. He kicked Hero's ass there. Then Hero talked shit afterwards. And the next time that Thompson played Hero, I think he stole the ball from him like 4-5 times or something like that. I don't understand why. Here we go. This is Amen Thompson throwing down Tyler Hero. I think this was early on last year. You can watch along on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, and on X. And down goes Hero. Hold me back, bro. I don't want that to happen again to me. Hold me back. Hold me back. I love Amen Thompson. Love him. Love him. I think he's the most athletic player in the NBA. And I also love that he doesn't take shit from anybody. I guess Kevin Durant weighed on all of this last night, too. Evan Turner wrote a letter to Amen Thompson online. Dear Amen, we know you are willing to fight and aren't afraid. We want to see your next steps as a player. Your team needs you. Y'all not loaded enough. #pause. What the fuck does #pause mean? To be sitting on the sideline with a 4-game suspension because you wanted to fight a welterweight. Well, Alvarado is a welterweight, but I mean, what did Thompson do that was wrong there? Alvarado was cruising for a bruise. Durant responds to him, oh, great. More unsolicited advice. Kevin Durant on the court's going to be great for the Rockets this year, but Kevin Durant on the internet, free entertainment. I enjoy it. I like that he talks shit. Oh, he's sensitive. I don't know. I think he's very honest online. We don't see enough of that. Instead, we see LeBron James. I'm the king from Akron. Here's a Hennessy ad. I'm making an announcement. It's an announcement for Hennessy. But I might make an announcement this year at some point. Oh, look at that. Live access removed on TikTok for violating community guidelines. I am suspended until October 18th, 2025 at 1:08 p.m. per TikTok for harassment and bullying. So I can restrict this. The notice is unclear. My live does not contain the content mentioned in the notice. The restriction is too strict, or TikTok should allow content like mine. Yeah. Well, we're just cussing. Submitting appeal. Yeah, who the fuck flagged me for that? Fuck you, whoever did that. Anyway, fuck the TikTok for now. Am I right, guys? Oh. All right, now let's get back on topic. Let's get back on topic. D'Amico Ryans, Houston Texans head coach, spoke to the media yesterday. Paul, are you seriously about to show us a D'Amico Ryans press conference? Are you seriously about to do that? Yes. Yes, I am. D'Amico Ryans and the Texans are done with the refractory period after a couple of slump busts. Here is D'Amico Ryans talking about the time the Texans had off. The head coach of the Houston Texans now speaking to you about your Houston Texans.
Good break. Good little getaway. Too early, but had to take it. We don't control that, but no, it was a good break. Good getaway for sure.
Fair point. So they had a bye week last year in week 14. This year they get a bye week in week 5. That's bullshit from the NFL scheduling gods / people who put the schedule together. D'Amico was also asked a question that he has already been asked this bye week. As I said on yesterday's show, you're about to hear a lot of, the AFC is wide open. There's lots of parity in the National Football League. Here is D'Amico Ryans being asked a question that he was asked, I think, literally a week ago, one more time, about parity in the league and if he talks to his team about that. I love how D'Amico's always got his tongue out when he's listening to people. It's a funny tick.
That doesn't creep into my mind at all about where the other AFC teams are, what their record is. It's still early in the season, right? A lot of teams had a lot of really good starts to the season, but we all know, and that's our focus, it's all about how you finish the season. It's all about how your team grows throughout the season. Just because you have a great start doesn't mean it's going to be a great finish. It's just continuing to work, control what you can control, and you truly focus on one game at a time. That's all that matters. Can't focus on what the other teams are doing, the outcome of their games. It really doesn't matter, right? It has nothing to do with how you go and play, how you go and prepare. You don't do anything different because other teams are where they are record-wise. It's truly focusing on us and getting better.
That is the right approach. You don't have to take it as a fan. The Texans are 2-3. Some consider the Chiefs the best team in the National Football League in their power rankings. Not that many. Most people are putting the Bucs at the top, but some people are putting the Chiefs at the top of their power rankings, and they're 3-3. They just lost to the Jaguars a little over a week ago. So you should take a notice of the AFC and how the Bills are suddenly struggling, especially defensively. How the Colts have a good record, but there's certainly questions to ask about their strength of schedule, much like you could ask about the Bills' strength of schedule. Texans' first 3 games were against, at least based off of their record, good teams. I like the Rams. I like the Bucs. We will see how good the Seahawks are this coming Monday. All you can do is take things a week at a time. I don't think that D'Amico needs to tell his team, hey, the National Football League season is a marathon, not a sprint, you know? He doesn't need to baby them. This is a team that has been through that marathon now a couple of times. With expectations last year and no expectations the first year. More from D'Amico Ryans' press conference. Here he is being asked a question specifically about Texans offensive lineman Titus Howard and how he's played this year.
Coach, one of the units that gets a lot of criticism when they're playing bad is the offensive line unit. But as of late, they've been playing very, very well. And so when we got a chance to speak to Nick Casario, he talked about how Titus doesn't get the amount of credit that he deserves. Can you just talk about how he has led that unit and has, over the last 2 games, helped them to take that next step?
I would say this about this: when guys get criticized on the football field, right? It's easy, right? It's easy to criticize offensive linemen, corners, right, and a quarterback because that's the easiest thing for everybody to see.
Actually true.
Right, when things go bad. But there's a lot of good that's been going on with our offensive line, and definitely I highlight that in our team meetings. And Titus is one of the guys he's been consistent. That's what O-line play is about. It's about playing consistent. It's about playing within yourself, not getting overextended, but doing your job down in and down out without a lot of glory, without a lot of pats on the back. Right, it's a very selfless position, right? And he's done a really great job throughout this year so far. He's improved. He's done a great job of anchoring the right side for us, and very proud of him, not only for his play, but Titus has also grown as a leader, right? Seeing him become more vocal, right? Communicating amongst the offensive linemen, right? That's what I'm most proud of with Titus. Besides the play, it's how he's grown into that leadership role, and that's what we needed from him.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
Titus Howard is a leader of the Texans offensive line. Who thought we'd see the day after last year where at times it felt like Titus Howard was pushing back on the criticism that the offensive line was receiving. More from D'Amico Ryans at yesterday's press conference. Here he is talking about why the Texans offense has been working over the last couple of weeks. Your head coach, ladies and gentlemen, with the liberal media of Houston, Texas.
With the offense and in particular C.J. Stroud, what are some things that jumped out to you?
The things that worked the past couple weeks offensively is just us being able to stay committed to the run game and run the football. You can run the ball, you can sustain drives. That's the key. And that'll be the key for us moving forward. We can do that. We can control the line of scrimmage, get positive plays in the running game. That allows Kaylee, right, to be able to open up the playbook and call whatever he wants, whatever he's installed that particular week. Everything is at his disposal when you can stay on schedule, and that's what it's been the past 2 weeks.
They have been able to get on schedule, but they've been slump busting. Easy to get on schedule when you're going up against a team that stinks. Easy to get on schedule when you're going up against 2 teams that stink. Is that going to continue against the Seahawks Monday? Not so sure about that. One last clip from D'Amico Ryans at his press conference yesterday. It is interesting to hear D'Amico Ryans talk about his guys, if you will, because he does have a few of them. There are guys that D'Amico really likes, and there are other guys that fall out of favor with him. One of those guys is clearly Jalen Petrie, who some would argue is a little overpaid, even if he has played pretty well, especially last week, for the Texans of late. Here is D'Amico talking about Jalen Petrie coming off that 2-interception performance against the Ravens.
What do you think about the season Jalen Petrie is having for you guys so far and what he's doing for the team?
Jalen is playing lights out for us. He is all over the field. He's asked to do many different things throughout a game, and he's the one guy who's very cerebral enough, smart enough to go out and handle whatever we ask of him defensively, whether that's blitzing, whether it's playing in coverage, whether it's playing back deep, like what all 3 levels of the defense. Jalen provides us that flexibility to be able to move him around wherever we need to put him each week. And so to have a player who is as smart as he is and as reliable as he is, it really gives you a comfort as a play caller. It gives you comfort to be able to know that if we want something to happen, you turn Jalen on. And when he's on, he's going to find a way to make plays in the backfield. He finds a way to get the football, right, the way he's attacking the football. I love to see that continue. He's doing a great job of being a true spark plug for our entire team.
Obviously, it's a different position, but does he remind you at all of you when you were a player?
Not at all. He's way better than me. He's all. I had one little position right in the middle, stop the run. That's about it. But no, Jalen is, a tremendous guy off the field too. He was our Walter Payton Man of the Year last year. He was that recipient because of the great things he's done in the community, just all around. Talk about a great guy. On the field, off the field, like that's what it looks like in Jalen Petrie. I'm proud to say that I'm able to coach Jalen Petrie.
That is a lot. That was a lot of compliments for Jalen Petrie. 2 questions asked, about a minute and a half of answering. He even said that Jalen is better than I was as a player. I suppose he's more versatile than D'Amico was when he was playing back in the day for both the Texans and the Philadelphia Eagles. D'Amico Ryans and the Texans have their guys. Every team has this, but it has been an interesting observation made by some of the people who cover the team, especially when some guys fall out of favor. Like C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Got a bad joke for everybody. You ready for this? You know how some people call C.J. Gardner-Johnson CJ GJ? More like every team in the National Football League is telling CJ to EAD. God damn, Paul, that was an incredible joke. So like me, C.J. Gardner-Johnson is out of work again. The difference between me and C.J. Gardner-Johnson is that I haven't gotten a second job over the last couple of weeks in a practice squad kind of role, only to be the framing of this. I do have to be fair to the way that it was framed by Adam Schefter of ESPN. I do have to read the story because it does feel like the Ravens just kicked him to the curb. Adam Schefter posted this yesterday afternoon. Ravens are releasing safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson after the safety's agent Kevin Connor and the Ravens officials came to an, quote, amicable mutual decision, per Connor. No one wants to say fired. No one wants to say cut. Everyone wants to say parted ways. Everyone wants to glad handle what went down, where C.J. Gardner-Johnson has been fired for the second time in a month. Said Kevin Connor, Ravens agent, Schefter, his mouthpiece here, quote, after the Ravens traded for a safety, we were looking for a clearer path to play. The Ravens traded for safety Alohi Gilman. I've never heard of this guy before. What are the odds, especially based off of that story that we saw about C.J. Gardner-Johnson talking shit about his teammates behind the scenes, talking shit about contracts behind the scenes? What are the odds that C.J. Gardner-Johnson either, one, talked shit about Gilman after they traded for him, or two, talk shit about a variety of players on the Ravens defense who aren't playing well? I wouldn't even blame him if he talked shit about Marlon Humphrey, who's hosting a podcast talking about the Ravens' struggles. Got to build that brand. Got to put out a podcast where you're not saying really much, if anything, but are somehow getting paid all sorts of fucking money to say absolutely nothing and not really entertain anybody. People will buy entirely based off of your following numbers instead of like the actual content you put out there. Paul, you sound really bitter and jealous. Yes, I am. Athlete podcasts are generally boring as shit unless you can pull some clip out of the podcast and throw it online for aggregation. That's why Micah Parsons is so good at it. He's talking out of his ass most of the time when he's on the podcast. But hey, a lot of things you can throw out there that are going to get reaction and engagement. Anyway, said Paul as he sipped coffee, room temperature coffee, out of a straw. We know that CJ Gardner-Johnson talked shit about some of his teammates while with the Texans. There's a chance he talked shit about the safety the Ravens traded for as he was on the practice squad. And I think he was probably talking shit about the Texans while he was on the Ravens. Perhaps even before the Texans played the Ravens. Maybe CJ Gardner-Johnson was trying to pour intel into Baltimore before that game. This was caught by Sideline Sarah of Houston Texans Twitter. This is John Harbaugh talking about CJ Gardner-Johnson. She gives a timeline here. Texans cut CJ Gardner-Johnson on September 23rd. Texans-Ravens is October 5th. October 7th, the Ravens signed CJ Gardner-Johnson to the practice squad. October 8th, John Harbaugh said, quote, we've been talking to him for a little while. October 14th, dumped him a week later. Sideline Sarah theorizes the Ravens used CJ Gardner-Johnson to rat on the Texans. I mean, that probably sounds right, but CJ Gardner-Johnson might have viewed it as a therapy session. Here he is, John Harbaugh, talking about the CJ Gardner-Johnson courting.
Gardner-Johnson, what do you like about what he did?
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up too. He's I've always liked the way he played. I've always liked the way he played. He brings it. He's a bring it attitude guy. He's a physical player, a lot of juice, a lot of energy. A veteran guy, knows how to play the game. So that's another one that was kind of parallel kind of conversation, really. Maybe him first we were talking about, probably been talking to him for a little while. So having him here is exciting as well. So, yeah, I think our team is better because of that.
Mentioned they've been talking for a little bit. So, yeah, he was talking to CJ Gardner-Johnson in between him getting cut by the Texans and signing him because the Ravens played the Texans in between that. But as correctly pointed out on X by Not Santa, you can watch the Gallant Says podcast at Gallant Says, at Gallant Says pod. Don't you have to learn the defense before you can give intel? That was a good joke. I do like that kind of thing. There was an interesting theory on Houston Texans Reddit. Let's take a look here. I don't agree with this one, but we'll throw it out there. At Texadia on Texans Reddit said, CDGJ, no, we're not doing that. CDGJ is the defensive version of Deontay Johnson. No, Deontay Johnson never did shit. Deontay Johnson had to be consoled by teammates after the Texans beat the Chargers in the playoffs. He had to be consoled by teammates after a playoff victory. How many teams has he been on in the past year? Is it 4? Is it more than 4? Deontay Johnson used to help the occasionally fantasy football owner out 3 to 4 years ago. What a great third wide receiver to have on your team. Never won a Super Bowl. Gardner-Johnson had 6 interceptions on a Super Bowl winning team. Now, perhaps he needs to keep his thoughts to himself. Perhaps he's a little too unhinged out there. Very difficult to work with. A bit of an ego considering what he actually is. But a thought, let's pump the brakes. Even comparing an unemployed safety like CJ Gardner-Johnson to Deontay Johnson, who I have practically zero respect for. How do you need to be consoled after a fucking playoff win? How does that happen? I remember seeing that story, and I was shocked that it wasn't a bigger deal locally. Anyway. More Texans tidbits. Per NFL reporter Dan Graziano. Let's give Dan Graziano the full experience, huh? The Chiefs, Texans, and Chargers are among teams expected to have interest in adding a running back at the trade deadline. Gabagoo. There we go. Paul, that's anti-Italian discrimination. What? Let me talk a little bit. The trade deadline is less than 3 weeks away. This is more substantial than that stupid rumor we saw last week from Boner in Vegas, or whatever the fuck his handle was, talking about trading for Breece Hall. This is better than that. But yeah. Yeah. Can we wait until an actual trade happens? Is saying that 3 teams are expected to have interest a report? No, that's just rumor mongering. It's such a low bar what classifies as NFL reporting these days. More Texans news. Shout out to Derek Stingley. Derek Stingley is engaged. One of the best corners in the National Football League proposed to his girlfriend, former Pace University soccer player and Houston fitness trainer, Annabelle Campagna. Her father played in the CFL back in the day. Derek Stingley Jr., team guy. He proposed on a bye week. That's a team guy. Now, you might argue, Derek Stingley could have proposed during the offseason. Instead, he decided to propose in the midst of the Houston Texans season. Does he really care about winning? I'm sure someone, if this was a Northeastern media market, might have that take. But he's a team guy. He proposed on a bye week. I'm curious as to how the ladies feel about said proposal. We have some proposal picks. October 10th, 2025. The most perfect day to say yes for forever. Oh, look at Derek Stingley smiling. I wonder where these engagement photos are. It's a big fucking rock. Also, Stingley's got like a Superman tat on his hand. Oh yeah, we're getting this is 100% something that took multiple takes. If you're not watching it, Derek Stingley's in flannel, and I'm imagining he's holding his soon-to-be wife up in the air and probably had to spin around in a circle for the professional photographers. I wonder how long this took. Yep, another photo spinning around. There's a photo of her holding the dress with that big old rock. Lab grown. Picture where they look like they're in the Northeast. It looks to be some changing leaves in the background. More spinning around in the circle. I wonder how long that took again. Now he's holding her up in the sky. He is holding her in an interesting position. I am not looking. Congratulations to the happy couple. And the proposal took place like this. So, wait, did they do the proposal photos right there? Did he bring, like, the proposal dress? Did she get changed into it there? Did they surprise her, or did they have this ready to go right afterwards? Because she had a change of clothes. Wow. Anyway, I don't know how this shit works. But ladies, sound off in the comments. On YouTube at Paul Gallant. On Twitch at Gallant Says. On Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. Instagram at Sports Gallant. X and Twitter at Gallant Says. At Gallant Says. Pod, you can also leave a text or voicemail. 281-836-3912. Or send an email. GallantSays@gmail.com. What else do we have? Ooh, see this? Hear about this? More Texans tidbits. Ed Ingram, per Pro Football Focus, this courtesy of Texans commenter, is the best guard in football. Fuck yeah, dude. Not 100% sure that Pro Football Focus is the best graders when it comes to determining who's good and who isn't, but that is a thing. So congratulations to him. More Texans tidbits. Xavier Hutchinson is doing the media rounds. First, he was on the Kay Adams show. We played that clip yesterday. And he also was on the nightcap with Unc, as they call him, with Shannon Sharp and with Chad, Ocho, Cinco, and or Johnson. By the way, one time he dabbed me up in the locker room, and that made me feel insanely cool. I saw him. I think he knew that I knew who he was, and he offered his fist out. I was like, damn. He recognizes that this guy had the makings of all-district safety in Florida. Definitely knew that. That's what it was about. Here he is, Xavier Hutchinson, Texans receiver, with Unc and with Chad Johnson and or Chad Ochocinco. I don't know what it is now.
CJ, what's CJ like? What's he been like?
Being asked about CJ Stroud.
But Seven's a pro. Like, I know a lot of people, that can get tossed around a lot of different ways. But Seven a pro, man. Like, he going to come in every single day. He's the same person. And, I mean, when you have that type of success, man, like, you can change quickly, right? But he got set, like, his morals, his moral compass, what he believes in, like, that keeps him grounded as a person. And then as a football player first. And as a person, bro, he funny, bro. He always joking around. He always got something to say. You know how those Cali people be, bro. They always got some jokes under their sleeve. They always want to joke with you, rank with you. But that's just who he is as a person, bro. Like, you won't want anybody else as your quarterback, right? Like, you want somebody who he walk through the door, he know he in there. Like, he in the building.
Mm-hmm.
And that, that gives you confidence too. Like, I'm catching the balls from Seven. I'm making plays with Seven. Seven trusting me to throw me the ball. Like, man, that's a good ass feeling. I won't lie to you.
Shout out to Xavier Hutchinson getting all these interviews. Great booker. Great booker. Some comments here. Behannon asks, didn't Carlos Correa propose on the field? Going back to Derek Stingley proposing in a field. He might have. Sean Martinez asks, did they take those in Baytown? Looked like it might have been the Northeast. Behannon also asked if Xavier Hutchinson at any point called CJ Stroud a dog there. He didn't. Is CJ Stroud not a dog in the eyes of Xavier Hutchinson? Big questions. So there you go, guys. Lots of Texans content to percolate on, Lots of it. Let's go around the National Football League. It's been interesting seeing how many people are putting the Kansas City Chiefs atop their power rankings at 3-3. They're in third place, but are the betting favorites to win the AFC West, even though the Chargers have Justin Herbert and are 4-2. And even though the Broncos have looked really great on defense and are 4-2. Betting favorites at 3-3, and I think I know why. It's because Rashee Rice is finally back. Mr. Fast and Furious Tokyo Dallas, or Fast and Furious Dallas Drift. Got it the third time. Watch that video for yourself. It is insane that he didn't get suspended for a full season. It's also miraculous that he didn't kill anybody with the way that he drove. And the callous way with which he walked away from the scene of said accident was, at best, childish, if not cunty. He should have been suspended a full year, I think. But the NFL has a weird, revolving wheel of fortune style when it comes to doling out punishments. That's how Ben Roethlisberger has a 6-game suspension for allegedly sexually assaulting someone. He gets it appealed down to 4 games, while Tom Brady gets suspended 4 games for, more probably than not, deflating balls during a game where the ideal gas law would certainly explain why a football deflated. In a game where the Patriots ran for like 300 yards and the inflation of the ball didn't really matter all that much. But he should have been suspended longer. The Chiefs love him. The Chiefs think he's a top 10 receiver. We will see if adding him back into the mix makes the Chiefs even better than they were against the Detroit Lions. The defense looked really good. I know some people are looking at the Chiefs and the calls that they're getting and are thinking to themselves, hey, the refs are helping them, it turns out. I think that there was an article done for, is it the UTEP? We might get into that on Tinfoil Hat Thursday, but UTEP actually found the data about the amount of penalties that the Chiefs have received over this run, and apparently, yeah, things have looked pretty damn favorable for them. What else do we have to talk about in the National Football League? The reason I think some people are putting the Chiefs at the top of the NFL's power rankings are because the 5-1 Colts are just hard to take seriously. Texans commenter put this one out on X. The Colts have beaten the Ravens, who are 1-5. Oh, wait, check that. Here's what the Ravens have done. The Colts have beaten the Dolphins 1-5, Broncos 4-2, Raiders 1-4, Titans 1-4, Cardinals 2-4, and lost to the Rams. Two of those wins, the Broncos game, the Cardinals game, came down to the final play, both involving controversial calls / no calls. Yeah, all right, maybe they're frauds. There was an article in The Athletic about Daniel Jones, and it talks about how boring he is. Here are some quotes from that article. I read it. He's the epitome of understated, with a public persona that screams accountant more than an NFL quarterback. Probe his teammates. Right, like a normal person. Because when I think of probe, I think of alien probes. Sorry, that's what I think about. Whether in South Park or whatever happened to Randy Quaid before in the events of Independence Day. Probe his teammates for something interesting about him, something revealing, something that proves he's more than a robot who happens to play football. And you get a lot of pursed lips, tilted heads, and long silences. Well, you would think that in this article that someone would actually find some interesting details, ask around for those interesting details. Instead, this person used a conversation that Daniel Jones had with Jason Garrett, where Jones revealed that he used to jog from Hoboken, New Jersey, take the ferry across the Hudson River, and rent an e-bike to pedal into the city. But this, I guess, meeting he had with Jason Garrett, he had to take an Uber because he had an injured knee, so he missed the ferry. He's riding the bike, meanwhile, on the West Side Highway. Per Jason Garrett, that's the most Daniel Jones thing I can think of. Where were the other interesting details? An entire article about how boring Daniel Jones is. Meanwhile, not boring. The Jerry Jones show in Dallas. I enjoy Jerry Jones. He is a fun character to have in the National Football League, assuming that he doesn't own your favorite team. That said, he probably needs to act a little less senile these days. Here he is in an interview that he did to make an announcement about the East-West Shrine game. He talked about how, after being asked about the Commanders losing on Monday night, he was asked about the Cowboys still being in the thick of things. Here's Jerry.
Better, but I'm pretty proud of how we've played so far. And we do have some serious help on the way. And that's part of the reason I feel as good as I do, because Dak's playing outstanding. Certainly Pickens is playing outstanding, and we've got some other people.
Blah, 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 blah. But he thinks they're still in the thick of it. Okay, I mean, you could argue that, sure. But do you believe that with the Cowboys right now? Probably not. You shouldn't. You shouldn't. That defense isn't good. And you need Dak Prescott to play like an MVP every single week for a chance to win. And by the way, he's played like an MVP for a lot of this season. What do the Cowboys have to show for it? They have a Sunday Night Football tie against the Green Bay Packers. Like, that's the most impressive thing that the Cowboys have done this season. Outside of that, at 2-3-1, they lost to the Eagles the first game of the year in a game where Jalen Carter, the Eagles' most important defensive player maybe, got ejected. They got smoked by Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears, 31-14. And they lost to the Panthers and Rico Dowdle, who they moved on from this past offseason. Their wins are over the Giants and Jets. Like, from a record perspective, sure, they're still in it, but are you still in it? Sounding a little senile. But this is where he really starts to sound like he needs to hand the reins over to somebody else. I don't know why he keeps doing this, but he keeps on bringing up everything that the Cowboys got in the Micah Parsons trade and how they could theoretically use what they got in the Micah Parsons trade to make a trade to improve their team this year. Here is Jerry Jones, Dallas Cowboys GM and owner.
Keying off of, but I think we can improve on our defense. And candidly, to answer your question, we have thought all along that if we see a way to improve this year with a trade at the deadline, then we'll take advantage of it. And that's what we positioned for to start this year, was to have ammunition to do things if we have an opportunity.
What? We traded so that we have a chance to trade later on in the season. We traded our best player so we'd have a chance to trade for someone that can't possibly be as good as their best player later on in the season. We're open for business, everybody. Anyone want to make a deal? Anyone want to give us someone? Like, that's not how deals work. Jerry knows that. He's an oil guy. He was on Landman. He delivered a heartfelt monologue to John Hamm's character. R.I.P. That ain't how a deal's made. And he did it again later on in this press conference. Here he is talking about the Kenny Clark contract that I guess makes it easier for the Cowboys to make a trade.
I've said it earlier today. One of the great things about our trade that we had with Green Bay is that our tackle makes about $22 million a year, where he costs us $2 million. And so we're getting a $20-something million a year player for $2 million right now. And he's playing about as well as anybody on defense. Why do I bring that up? That alone has increased our flexibility of being able to look at potential trades right now. Where
he really thinks he's sounding like a genius here. I mean, he's got to know he sounds like he's full of shit, right? I don't buy into the idea that Jerry Jones is completely senile, but he's sure starting to sound it.
As you might have had hand cramps before. So we're in position to look at a trade. That doesn't mean we're going to make one, but we certainly had in mind when we started this season that we were going to have ammo to be more flexible in terms of what we do with the roster as we move along this year and, of course, as we get into the next couple of years.
He's not looking good there, is he? I think he should use a little cortisol, perhaps. on the eye, thrash that's going on around there. But let's bring it back to his comments about how the Cowboys have the ability to make a trade right now. He's brought this up 3 times over the last month, counting yesterday. Jerry Jones brought this up September 12th in a radio interview on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. He talked about the value of the draft picks in the Micah Parsons trade, stating they would, quote, do some damage, end quote, and enable the Cowboys to acquire top talent. 10 days later, the 22nd, after a loss to the Bears, Jones addressed using the acquired draft capital for potential immediate trades, emphasizing the need for the right opportunity to utilize the picks. And then you heard him talking about it again. Don't talk about trades that are never going to come. Don't try to sell your fan base on, hey, we traded Micah Parsons so we can make trades at the trade deadline, if that's not a certainty to happen, which Jones even admitted in this interview. I don't really get what he's trying to do here, and it's just making him look more like someone who needs to step down, which he's not going to do. I think more and more Cowboys are going to get disinterested and, you know, hey, Dak Prescott might be doing all right and Brian Schottenheimer might be exceeding expectations, but it's hard to feel great about the direction of the Cowboys when you traded your best player this offseason and your owner / GM keeps talking about how, well, it's going to allow us to make some trades. Jerry Jones, everybody. Let's see if we got any comments here. People want some background music for around the National Football League. Yeah, I got to figure out what I'm allowed to play on the air and what I'm not allowed to play. The theme song we're probably going to use is this, and I'm not going to tell you what it's from because I don't want them to figure out that I'm using it. But I do like this theme song for the future. I just need somebody to help me put graphics together and stuff. So that's one of the reasons that things have been taking a little bit so long to get started on this show of late. But this is the theme song. Or we could do this one. We'll pick one of those. Number 1 or number 2. They're both from the same family, if you will. We do this segment every Wednesday. Who's been soft in the world of sports? You can bring your nominations to the table on YouTube at Paul Gallant, on Twitch at Gallant Says, on Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports, on X and Twitter at Gallant Says Pod, and on Instagram at Sports Gallant. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way. As we've said before, there's an email, gallantsays@gmail.com. You can also send a text or leave a voicemail at 281-836-3912. That is 281-836-3912. Let's play the abbreviated intro with music we can't play in the background anymore. Soft boys, in a tough sitch. Ime Udoka thinks you're a bitch. In honor of the time that Ime Udoka called LeBron James a soft-ass boy, every single Wednesday we tell you who's been soft in the world of sports and beyond. Jon Runyan. I think Jon Runyan is not soft in that I look at him, former NFL tackle, and I realize that man could probably throw me about 15 feet, if not more. He's like 6'8". And he's a tackle that was known as one of the dirtiest players in the league when he played. But he's gone corporate. For those who don't know, Brian Branch got into a brouhaha with Juju Smith-Schuster after Sunday Night Football was done. Brian Branch was walking off the field, walked by Patrick Mahomes, who was trying to shake his hand. I think Juju Smith-Schuster talked shit to him, so he went up to Juju Smith-Schuster, smacked him in the face. Schuster flopped, then got up and chased Brian Branch around, only to get ragdolled by Brian Branch with a couple of very unfortunate photos of Juju Smith-Schuster being posted afterwards. There's a part of me that felt like Juju Smith-Schuster has been asking for this bruising for a while between the stupid TikTok dances that he used to do and that moment right there where I do think he was talking shit. And leave it to fellow Syracuse guy Zaire Franklin of the 5-1 Indianapolis Colts to see things the way that I do. Here he is on a podcast with, I think, a fantastic take.
Hey, Juju, boy got the beats.
First of all, Juju needed his ass whooped.
Damn.
Let's just go there. Number one.
Why does everybody say that?
Him specifically really needs his ass whooped.
What's wrong with Juju?
Bro, he been needing his ass whooped for a minute. Brian Bed's doing the work of the Lord, bro. Whoop that man ass, bro. You gonna hold you? Shout out the game.
What did Juju do?
Bro, he's an asshole, bro.
Okay.
I heard that though. And he is sneak this. Like, this is my thing. I'ma talk greasy to you. We gonna go right up. And when we get that one-on-one, I ain't gonna duck the smoke. Yeah. So whether I win or lose, it is what it is. He the type that's gonna do all the little weird, sneaky stuff, push you behind the back, go run, tell the ref. You like, bro, shut your little weird ass. Then try to be cool with you after. First of all, y'all seen the picture though?
The picture's crazy. His nose crazy.
Bro, you can't be crying with your nose blood. Like, you got kids, bro. Like, what's gonna happen when your son? Come on, bro.
Hey, bro, you crazy.
But that's how I think. I be like, bro, I really be feeling. I'm like, bro, I can't let y'all. My son in the stands. I can't let you put your hands on me. My girl watching.
That's a fact.
She might like you now after this. Like, I'm gonna tell my girl I come home. I just got my ass whooped.
So that is Zaire Franklin. I think that is the correct take. Juju Smith-Schuster, on the outside looking in, is annoying. The TikTok dance is fucking stupid that he was doing all that time. And I guess he's a bit of an asshole on the field, at least for Zaire Franklin, because he talks shit that he can't actually cash. And he flopped there and then got his ass beat. But anyway, bringing it back to John Runyon. Runyon wrote this to Brian Branch, a letter. NFL Vice President of Football Operations, John Runyon, gone full suit after being one of the dirtiest players in NFL history. Quote, "Your aggressive non-football act was entirely unwarranted, posed a serious risk of injury, and clearly violated the standards of conduct and sportsmanship expected of NFL players. Your conduct reflected poorly on the National Football League and has no place in our game," end quote. By the way, Rashee Rice, unsuspended for nearly Grand Theft Auto Dallasing a bunch of dudes and ladies, and perhaps children on the fucking highway, but beating Juju Smith Jr.'s ass when he was talking shit after the game reflected poorly on the NFL and has no place in the game. He showed contrition for it afterwards. John, when did you become full suit? He did this as well. He wrote a letter to Azeez Al-Shaair last year after Al-Shaair delivered unnecessary roughness to Trevor Lawrence. I don't think it was as cheap as it was made out to be, but of course I'm a little bit biased there. During your game against the Jacksonville Jaguars December 1st, with 4:20 remaining in the second quarter, you were involved in a play that the league considers unacceptable and a serious violation of the playing rules. Video shows you striking the head/neck area of Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence after he clearly goes down in a feet-first slide. You led with your forearm and helmet, blah, blah, blah. After the illegal hit, you proceeded to engage in a brawl. I mean, he was defending himself, which you escalated when you pulled an opponent down to the ground by his face mask. I don't know, the Jaguars all came after him at the same time. After the referee announced you were disqualified, you removed your helmet, re-engaged with your opponent while walking down and across the field, started another physical confrontation near the end zone. Your lack of sportsmanship and respect for the game of football and those who play, coach, and enjoy watching it is troubling and does not reflect the core values of the NFL. Your continued disregard for NFL playing rules puts the health and safety of both you and your opponents in jeopardy and will not be tolerated. Excuse me, sir? Excuse me. This? John Runyon is saying this? This guy is the one going full suit. With all due respect, get the fuck out of here.
Watch John Runyon. Yeah, let's just watch him anyway.
Look at that!
You better never.
That's a spear job.
Ever stand around the pile when John Runyon's around.
That's one of the first.
One more time.
John Runyon. Yeah, let's just watch him anyway. Because
Boom!
when he comes, you better never.
This guy was on a list of dirtiest players in the National Football League back in the day. Forget when it came out. October 2006, John Runyon was ranked second on a list of dirtiest players in the NFL. Sean Merriman, Bills linebacker of the time, stated Runyon was, quote, one of the dirtiest players I've ever been against in my whole entire life. He was real good at being dirty. Runyon did not deny the charges, criticizing the current game instead. Quote, that's the way the game's supposed to be played. I think they've tried to change that over the years. It's turned into a basketball game out there. And then you're writing letters 20 years later? What the fuck happened? And by the way, he was a New Jersey politician for a period of time. He was I think, House of Representatives member, yes, for the 3rd District of New Jersey from 2011 to 2015. Gotta watch out. Well, gotta watch out for guys from Jersey. Hey, you almost around with someone from Jersey. We listen to Bruce Springsteen. Better watch out. I know people. I know a thing or two about racketeering. I'd hate to see something happen to your place of work. But what the fuck happened where Runyon went from being the dirtiest player in the NFL to a chill suit? So yeah, he can kick my ass, but I think that the way that he is handling these letters that he's writing are soft as fuck. By the way, Runyon, drafted by the Houston Oilers in 1996. He was with the Oilers, then Titans till 99 before he went to the Philadelphia Eagles. Who else has been soft in the world of sports? Bears fans. And the Chicago Bears. Stop fucking crying about people thinking that Caleb Williams hasn't been that impressive. Enjoy the wins. Your team has a pulse for the first time in a while with Ben Johnson running the show. Why do you give a shit about what the best color commentator in the game, Troy Aikman, has to say? Oh, he's being critical. Yeah, he's critical of everything. Oh, he doesn't do enough brown nosing. Do you want a Kirk Herbstreit experience where Kirk Herbstreit acts like everybody on a National Football League field is awesome while his dog's humping his leg and killing a baby squirrel and taking a shit on Al Michaels' foot or on the carpet that Al Michaels has to walk over to go get his steak buffet? Sorry for the tangent on whatever shitty dog Kirk Herbstreit has right now. It's a golden retriever. It's cute. He never does that. Okay, sure, fine. But you want someone to brown nose your best player all broadcast long? He's clearly not a believer right now, and use this as motivational fuel instead of being like, oh, I can't believe he's saying this about us. Both Ben Johnson, head coach of the Bears, and Caleb Williams acknowledged this. First, here's Caleb Williams with a post that he posted to Instagram. Caleb got word of Troy Aikman's commentary. He posted a picture of some guy on Michigan wearing number 13 with a mustache and a thumbs up. I guess the song in the background is Drake, the Resistant. What? This is a rather feminine post, in my opinion. Nation's cap, good being back. What? It was lucky. TA. Just say Troy Aikman. Whoop-de-doo. Laughing emoji. Laughing emoji. Just like address it head on. Address it head on. Instead, he's got the passive-aggressive response to this, where he doesn't even mention Troy Aikman's name. He just mentions his initials. Here is Ben Johnson, meanwhile, while on 10:00 a.m. in Chicago, talking about Troy Aikman being a little critical of them during Monday Night Football.
You know, I think you said it best. I love that perspective. It sounded like from that game the other night, a few people weren't particularly pleased with how we were winning right now. So I woke up this morning and, you know, my kids were watching the second half before school. And so I heard some of the commentary, but listen, in this league, any way you can find a way to win is a big deal. And like you said, that's 2 in a row on the road. That came down to the last play, and the guys did a great job believing and executing there to finish the game. Now, we do know it's not sustainable, you know, for the rest of the season as well. So there's a number of mistakes we got to clean up. There's the penalties we got to clean up. There's a lot of work we still got to do to get this thing going the way we want it to. But when you're winning games and it's ugly like that, it's certainly going a long way for your team.
I mean, just say, hey, he's entitled to his opinion and move on. I think the Bears seem really sensitive coming out of this. So the Bears are soft boys, in a tough sitch. Ime Udoka thinks you're a bitch. More soft boys. I mean, my goodness, Amy Adams Strunk, owner of the Tennessee Titans. It just keeps on getting worse and worse for her. Apparently, she cannot handle being embarrassed, and specific moments of being embarrassed have directly led to some of the major shakeups that she has made in the organization over the last couple of years. Here is Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated on with Stillman and Company talking about Amy Adams Strunk.
I can just tell you, from the coach's standpoint, they generally have this meeting. It's normally at 11 a.m. It was at noon this week because they're traveling back from Vegas. And that's when the position coaches, give their review of their guys and the coordinators speak. That meeting, like on Monday morning, was abruptly canceled. Then rescheduled for 12:30, which is where Callie wound up telling his staff that he'd been let go. I think this is a lot like the Mike Vrabel situation. It's Amy acting alone, and one thing that's common with every one of these moves, and I'm sure you've heard this, Jared, is Amy doesn't like being embarrassed, right? And she had a huge family contingent at that game in Vegas. And, I think just maybe some of you can go back over the years and look at them, right? Like, you and I don't, like, I know you don't think it's any coincidence that she gets, that she fires John Robinson, 2 days after after they play against AJ Brown, right? I don't think it's a coincidence that she needs her pound of flesh after they have the worst record in the league. It's just all of these different moves seem to depend on A, like her own personal emotions, and B, whoever the last person she listened to is. And
that last part, Jesus.
So I think that's sort of where you were at on Monday morning, that there was that feeling of embarrassment, and the potential that embarrassment could get worse 6 days later with Mike Vrabel coming to town, which I think influenced the move.
That's hilarious. So she's in Vegas with family in a box. The Raiders somehow win. You got Geno Smith after the game saying, "We're gonna jump in the lake to wash off the bad luck," or something like that. Never really heard of that before. And the possibility of being further embarrassed on Mike Vrabel's return to Tennessee, another factor in moving on. Everyone believes that she's behind the decisions being made, starting with taking Brian Callahan's play calling duties away a couple of weeks ago, and now this firing. There's been 2 op-eds written about the Titans and Amy Adams Strunk over the past couple of days. Mike Silver from The Athletic, Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports. We talked about some of what Silver wrote yesterday. More from Silver, quote, as he sat in the small office off the locker room last Friday, Cam Ward was asked about the upcoming matchup and whether he was excited about playing in such an atmosphere. Yeah, he said, smiling, because I know there will be some more fans in the stands. Yeah, Patriots fans from the Northeast. It's going to be more lively. I know we'll have a couple more fans than in previous games after Callahan got canned. That would be a good thing. Cam Ward's been right about the offense the whole year. Talked about it in training camp, called it mid, the offense, and then said, keep it a buck, we ass, a little bit later. This is how the Silver column ended. Never mind that many of those fans will be wondering when the franchise they support will cease to appear dysfunctional. Again, I think it's going to be all Patriots fans in Nashville. How many people have been to Nashville since it became Nashville? For Ward, breaking that cycle may turn out to be the biggest challenge of all. Jonathan Jones, meanwhile, CBS Sports wrote this about Brian Callahan first. Some sources on the former Titans head coach. We had a head coach trying to be an offensive coordinator, but he had to learn how to be a head coach first. We needed a head coach more than we needed a play caller. By the way, he had to learn how to be a play caller first because he didn't call plays in Cincinnati. Another team source, there's no savior this year. There's no one who can stabilize the whole thing. Jesus. Ahead of a Week 4 game against the Texans, Brian Callahan relinquished play calling duties and handed them to quarterback coach Bo Hardegree. While Hardegree had been named the interim offensive coordinator with the Raiders in 2023, the decision was still curious because Brian Callahan skipped over offensive coordinator Nick Foles. This is interesting because you could argue that Brian Callahan is a beneficiary of nepotism. He's a member of the Lucky Sperm Club. His dad, Bill Callahan, a respected coach, at least as far as offensive line coaching goes, across the NFL, was on Brian Callahan's staff, left after Brian was let go. Nick Foles, the offensive coordinator who did not get play calling duties when Brian Callahan was asked to stop calling plays, was high school teammates with Brian Callahan. He began his coaching career when Bill Callahan gave him a quality control position at Nebraska. So he got this gig because he's close with the Callahan family, but not even by blood. He's a friend of the family. Brian hired his longtime friend as the non-play calling offensive coordinator in 2024. What? That's crazy. Then did not entrust the play calling duties to him when the time came. Nick isn't ready, said one source. One last quote about Brian Callahan before we get back to Amy Adams Strunk, who is a
soft boys in a tough sitch. Ime Udoka thinks you're a bitch.
We're praying for a miracle, but he's drowning, said one source during the losing streak. Jesus. More comments. Jeffrey Smith says the former Titans head coach did not know the rules. You are right on that. Omar F says Amy Adams Strunk is butt. Yes. I hate Largo. Amy Adams is a female? Yes, she is. It is 2025. You're never 100% sure. But yes, she is not a they, them. She. Get her pronouns correct. These columns really highlight Amy Adams Strunk as an idiot. Here are some tidbits from the Jonathan Jones column, CBS Sports. Titans owner Amy Adams Strunk has gotten used to firing the people she has empowered to run her team. Damn, what a lead. Later in the article, quote, they're so quick to jump on things there, said one league source. I really question ownership. The turnover they've had there the last 3 years, this is a total rebuild. And one last tidbit, quote, Strunk is known to read and listen to the press clippings while herself rarely speaking publicly, like at the press conference we saw earlier this week. Her scarce interviews have been conducted by the team's internal media in recent years, and she did not even offer a statement in the announcement of of Brian Callahan's firing. As one source familiar with Strung put it, when asked what the most important aspect of this coaching search will be, quote, Amy doesn't want to get scolded in the media, end quote. Jeez. She moved on from Brian Callahan because she was embarrassed that her friends saw the Titans get embarrassed by a bad Raiders team in Vegas and didn't want more embarrassment to happen Sunday in Nashville against the coach she fired for some reason. I cannot wait. Here are the Titans coaching targets as expected. Not particularly compelling targets. Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy. Steelers offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, who you might remember being the offensive coordinator for the Titans before taking the Falcons head coaching gig and maybe helping Ryan Tannehill revitalize his career. They love boring coaches. No Joe Brady, Bills offensive coordinator. No John Gruden, no James Franklin. Like they need a name. You need a name to get people excited in the Titans again. This ain't doing it. Like, fuck, even Eddie George. Isn't Eddie George coaching at like some Division I AA school right now? Is it Bowling Green? Remember him, Eddie George, former Titan? Eddie George is the coach at Bowling Green State. I mean, that would excite people probably. I don't know how. What's Bowling Green's record? Bowling Green record. Bowling Green is, all right, they're 3-3. So they're in the middle of the road in the Maction. But that's what the Titans are looking for. A head coach. More realistic than Penn State at the very least. Penn State is going to try to hire Marcus Freeman away from Notre Dame. Why would you leave Notre Dame for Penn State? Why? Notre Dame's in the playoffs every year. Going forward, with the expanded playoffs, they're in every year. Penn State, not a lock. They're like right on the fringe, as we saw last year. That's probably why James Franklin's out of a job right now. Penn State thinks they're going to hire someone away from Notre Dame? What? The delusions of some of these college football programs. One last one for Soft Boys.
Soft boys, in a tough sitch. Ime Udoka thinks you're a bitch.
Kirby Joseph, Lions defensive back. So Kirby Joseph has done a lot of complaining online after the Chiefs beat the Lions in Sunday Night Football. Here's a couple of posts where you can see on X he's bewildered by some calls. Here's one. Here's another. And here's a third one where he shows a picture of Patrick Mahomes talking to a referee with the caption, "Take me through there," end quote. But you can't be so soft and bitter and butthurt after a loss that you're saying bullshit like this after the game. Here is Kirby Joseph speaking after the Lions had lost to the Kansas City Chiefs Sunday night.
We ain't stopping.
How difficult is it against Mahomes when you guys...
Shit ain't hard at all, bro. Don't even say it's difficult. That shit ain't hard. We gotta do our job.
How hard is it to stop Mahomes? Shit ain't hard at all. One more time. I guess we weren't showing that right there.
How difficult is it against Mahomes when you guys...
Shit ain't hard at all, bro. Don't even say it's difficult. That shit ain't hard. We gotta do our job.
Shit ain't hard at all. I get bitching about the refs. The UTEP study in El Paso, Texas, formerly Texas Western. Research done by a team at UTEP presented evidence that the Chiefs had benefited from slanted officiating from 2015 to 2023, a time that coincided with their rise as one of the NFL's most marketable franchises. I mean, I don't think they were doing it when Alex Smith was the fucking quarterback. The study shows during the playoffs, This is an article from Kansas City, which the research team identified as the NFL's most commercially valuable period. Penalties against opposing defenses of the Chiefs' offense were significantly more likely to result in first downs, cover more yardage, and fall into subjective categories such as roughing the passer or pass interference. Importantly, these effects were absent from the Tom Brady-era New England Patriots and other recent Super Bowl contenders, suggesting the phenomenon is unique to Kansas City's emergence as a television ratings powerhouse, the study found. This may be the result of financial pressures on the league stemming from the sharp decline in TV viewership and ratings for the 2015 to 2017 seasons, just before Mahomes became the Chiefs' starting quarterback, marked by controversy over racial issues and Colin Kaepernick kneeling. So I guess this study, God, it must be great to have some sort of research grant at a college to research something like this, because you've maybe got an axe to grind with the Chiefs. Can I get that job? I would love to get money for a research grant to look into the New York Yankees and the sign stealing that they probably did during the playoffs of 2017. I'd love that. Or the Los Angeles Dodgers. Could I get a grant for that? It would be fun. Look into the Colts pumping in crowd noise at all the stadiums that they've played at in their time. Could do that. The Ravens covering up Ray Lewis's deer antler spray usage, or looking the other way for multiple players from Justin Tucker to Terrell Suggs to Ray Lewis to a lesser extent Ray Rice until the video was out there. Could we take a look at the Ravens and their internal conduct policy? Can we do that? I'd love to. I'd love to do that. But that's going to wrap up Soft Boys, everybody.
Soft boys, in a tough sitch. Ime Udoka thinks you're a bitch.
And it's going to wrap up today's edition of the Gallant Says podcast. If you ever have a question, you can shoot me an email to gallantsays@gmail.com. You can also call, leaving a voicemail at 281-836-3912. Again, 281-836-3912. You can also send a text to that very same number, 281-836-3912. Thank you so much for tuning into today's live show. If you did, you can join me live weekdays at noon or occasionally after major Houston sporting events on YouTube at Paul Gallant. Like this video and subscribe. On Twitch at Gallant Says. Give me a sub. On X/Twitter at Gallant Says Pod. Give me a follow. Instagram at Sports Gallant. Give me a follow. TikTok at Gallant Says, although we're banned. We're banned on TikTok now. And on Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. It's also available after the fact wherever you get your podcast. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, rate, and review me on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify. Just look for the Gallant Says podcast. It's a cool looking logo, if I do say so myself. If you roast my ass in the reviews, I might even read it on the air. Until tomorrow at around noon Central Time. So long, farewell.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain.
Have yourself a wonderful Wednesday. Peace!